Good morning, everybody. Father Tony in this episode of Coffee Talk, and it's been a number of weeks since we recorded a Coffee Talk. The last one we recorded, Deacon Jeff Frieden was here for a seminarian who was doing an intern, and he went back off to school. He had to get back to school to complete his final year, and the summer just flew by. And there was a lot of activity this summer, so I apologize for a delayed video, but I had an opportunity to do one today, and many of you have been asking me about the Holy Land pilgrimage from back in May. We're 2 months. It's been 2 months since we've returned from the Holy Land, and thought a good way to kind of remind people of our trip. And it was a gorgeous trip. It was a wonderful trip. That there was a bond that was created, that was formed, that was made during that Holy Land trip. The whole purpose of going on the trip, is that I've had a lot of people that wanted to go. But really the main reason I decided to organize a trip is because I wanted to take my mother on this trip. Because that was on her bucket list, was to be able to go to the Holy Land, to walk where Jesus walked, to be in the places where he taught, where the disciples heard the message for the first time, and were just awed by it. And just our experience there, we were awed by it. Granted, 2,000 years have passed, so some aspects of the area changed. They didn't have modern roads 2,000 years ago, and modern lighting and air conditioning, so on and so forth in some of these places. But yet there was still a spirit. There was still something palpable about being in these places, and my whole reason for having this trip was to have her to have that experience. I did 12 years ago when I was a student, but I wanted her to have this experience, and I don't feel comfortable going over there by myself and taking her with me, so might as well go with a group and take others along to experience it. And once I got this group together and we went over there, my first time in the Holy Land was all about what kind of experience did God wish to reveal to me in that trip. This time around, what I was hoping, yes, Mom, but every other pilgrim on this pilgrimage would have an experience, something that would hit them, something that would strike them. That was my goal, not necessarily for me, but it was about for the other people. And of all the sites we went to the place of the multiplication of the loaves and fishes, to the Mount of Beatitudes, to the cave of Elijah, to the Church of the Nativity, to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, all these various places. Each one spoke to each person differently, and it was all inspiring, and I was just soaking it in with this particular group. But the day that got everybody, it seemed like, at the very same time as when we were in Jerusalem, the second to last day of our pilgrimage. We were in Jerusalem in the Garden of Gethsemane, in the Church of All Nations, and in this church there's a big rock, and the altar is built over top of this rock, and that rock is the rock where Jesus prayed on the night he was betrayed, before he suffered. That was the rock. Remember, he took the apostles, the disciples, to the garden, and he brought Peter, James, and John with him out a little farther, and then he went on a little farther to pray, and that's the spot where he prayed over that rock as he contemplated his agony, where he sweat blood in regards to preparing for his agony, where he prayed, Father, let this cup pass from me, but not my will, but your will be done. That spot. And then after Mass, we had Mass there. Pilgrims are all around us. We had a spot reserved for Mass for us, and we were ahead of schedule. And the pilgrimage leader told me towards the end of Mass, before the final prayer, he's like, we're 10 minutes ahead. a schedule. Don't conclude Mass yet, because once you conclude Mass, then we get kicked out for other groups to come in. He said, take some extra time to pray. So I did. I said, we got 10 minutes before we conclude Mass. Let's just spend some time in prayer at this rock. And all the pilgrims, because it's a big rock, so all the pilgrims kind of gathered around, knelt for the most part at that rock, laid their hands on the rock. And I kind of sat in the background a little bit, and I'm watching all of them. And we had a gentleman who was on the trip from us, Joe from Ohio, who happened to be the lone Buckeye on our trip, who started singing in the background, started singing a hymn in the background. And it was a moving experience, but it was moving for me because one by one, each of the pilgrims got up with tears. It seemed like everybody had tears in their eyes, just contemplating the awe of, like, where are they, where they're at. And I had a smile from ear to ear, you know, seeing everybody seeming to have a moment. And then I saw my mother kneeling there. And so I went up to my mother to be able to lay my hand on her as she was praying. And to me, that was a moving experience, to share that moment with my mother. The other moving experience was to be in the tomb of Jesus. Mount Calvary, everybody else had an experience on the Church of All Nations and the Rock of Gethsemane. My moment came once again on Mount Calvary, looking at the place of the crucifixion. 12 years ago, I had a profound moment there. It happened again, where I had a profound moment. It got so much that different people had to come over and comfort me, including the camera operator right at this particular moment, that I was bawling. And they had to carry my stuff because I was just so weak from the experience. And then there was my mother comforting me as well in that particular moment. But being in the tomb of Jesus, I had one wish. Mom come on the trip with me, it's on their bucket list, but my other wish was that I wanted to have Mass in the tomb of Jesus. And we were able to do it. All 24 of us, plus our pilgrim guide, plus some random stranger who snuck in, we were all able to be in this tiny space to celebrate Mass. And not everybody can get to the tomb, to the actual rock where Jesus' body laid in the tomb. There's kind of an outer chamber, then there's the inner chamber. The inner chamber is where the slab, the rock slab where he laid. I only can get one person inside there with me, and it was my mother. That was my second wish. I wanted to have Mass in the tomb, and I wanted my mom right there with me, because I would not have been in this position. I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for her and her witness and her faith. And then, of course, people around were part of the Mass. I was able to walk out of the inner chamber to read the readings, and one by one, everybody was able to make circles to get in the inner chamber and out, in the inner chamber and out, so that everybody could be there right at that. And here I am celebrating Mass where Jesus is made present in bread and wine, that Jesus is truly present. And every Mass we go to, we're transported time and space to Mount Calvary, to that place, to that location. We're transported time and place back to that one event. But in that moment, we are only transported by time because we were in the place. And that Jesus was made present fully, substantially, body and soul. You know, body and blood, soul and divinity, right there in that tomb once again. And that was a pretty profound moment for me and everybody else who got to share. And we all have our stories. We all had our moments. We all had our wow moments. We had some a couple times freaked out. It's like, where are we at? Where are we going? But hopefully it's a pilgrimage that people won't be afraid to go in the future. It is worth it to be in these places. The Bible comes alive all the more, especially, again, centered around the Blessed Sacrament in those locations, and especially as Blessed Sacrament is celebrating the year of the Blessed Sacrament, that Jesus is truly present here, now, in every Mass, but it makes it more real I don't know if that makes any kind of sense. Maybe more profound when you are in those places. Wow. You love me. You love us. You would do this for us. So these are some musings on the second month anniversary of the second month, 2 months later, as we came back from this pilgrimage. Just take us in consideration. While many won't be able to go to the Holy Land, Jesus is made present now, here, where we're at. Don't take it for granted. He's just as alive as he was 2,000 years ago. After he rose from the dead, he is still just as alive now today. Be open, receive him, let him in. Hang in there, kiddos. Keep drinking coffee, and God bless you.